In the 2D sketching section of this course, we covered how to add fillets and chamfers to our 2D sketches. And in this lecture, we'll learn how to add these features in 3-dimensional modeling. Adding these features in 3D is our preferred route to adding fillets and chamfers because it avoids any conflicts or losses of dimensions and constraints in sketching, and they are also easy to modify later. So today I'll be demonstrating these tools using this model here. I will include this part file as a separate download in the resources section, so feel free to download it and work with this part if you would like. Let's start with the radius tool, and there are a number of different things we can do with this. So both the radius and the chamfer tool are located under the solid tab under the modification tools. We've got fillet and chamfer available to us. Got the shortcut F on the keyboard for fillet as well. So let's start with the fillet tool. Let's hit F on the keyboard. We've got our toolbox pop up. The first thing we need to do is either to select a face, like so, or an individual edge. In this case, I'm going to choose this edge here, left click once. And then from here, we can adjust this blue arrow to determine the size of the radius. So that will do it manually, or we can use the parameter box here, or the one in the toolbox up here. We're going to go with a rad of 4 mil in this case, and then press OK. So that is the fundamental of the radius tool. It's very straightforward, and I will give some more examples where we can do more things with radii. I'm going to right click on that feature and delete that, F on the keyboard again. And now I'm going to select the same edge, but this time under the radius type, instead of constant, I'm going to hit the drop down and we're going to select variable. Now in here, notice we have 2 arrows. So this one we can adjust. Also this one we can adjust as well. And this will give us a variable fillet as we see in that preview there. We can control both of these parameters in the toolbox. So let's say the start of this fillet, let's go for 1 mil. And let's say we finish with, let's go for 6 mil. And if we press OK, we then got that variable fillet there. So 1 transitioning nicely into 6 mil right at the end of that fillet. We can also apply fillets to a face as well. But for example, if I hit F on the keyboard, and then if we hover the mouse over this face here, there are 8 edges in total in contact with this face. And so if we select that face, then move the arrow, we can see there that all of those 8 edges are being radiied. Let's go for 3 mil, press OK. There we see we've done a shortcut there. So we can select any face and all edges in contact with that face will be radiied. Give another example. I'm going to hit this face here, select that one, let's go for a rad, let's go for 2 mil, okay. So just a nice shortcut there where we can select faces instead of individual edges. Another example we should take a look at is corners. So corners are quite unique when it comes to radiusing. Let's hit F on the keyboard, and let's select individual edges here under a constant radius. Let's go for this edge here, this one, and this one. We're encapsulating that corner within that. We were entering a fillet there of, let's go for 2 mil. Actually, I'll make that 4 mil, a bit more obvious to see. Now, if we see the corner here, we can see that this nicely blends into the other 3 fillets. We've got the option at the bottom here for corner type. But this is currently what they call a rolling ball corner, where we've got the option there to do a set that corner. If I select that, we can see by the preview that Fusion is now adding material into the transition between each fillet. And so I jump back to rolling ball. This is the default option, and then set back is another option we have there as well. I'll leave that as rolling ball for now. That's the standard. Press OK. So we've taken a look at exterior edges. We've taken a look at corner points. Now let's look at joining edges like this one here. And hit F on the keyboard. I'm going to select this joining edge just down here. Left click once. I'm going to put in a fillet there. Let's go for 4 mil. And as we can see here, we're now actually adding material as opposed to this exterior edge where we would remove material. Fusion is now adding material and forming that nice smooth transition between this face here and this one here. And again, we can change the radius type. So I could make that a variable. Let's start from 2 mil and let's jump up to 6 and press OK. And we can do transitions like this using the fillet tool. If we have a part which consists of different size fillets, we can include all of those different fillets within one feature. So if I hit F on the keyboard, let's say I'm going to choose this exterior edge here. I'm going to go for a constant radius. And let's give that 2 millimeters. We can then click the plus icon here. let's add a selection set. I can then choose this edge here. And you see this one then appears in my toolbox. We can give this a rad of, let's say, 1 mil. I can add another selection set. And let's go for a face in this case. Let's go for 4 mil. And then we can press OK. And there we've got different size fillets all included within one feature. So we don't have to have a huge list of fillets within our timeline. We can do all of them under one feature. We can always right click on that edit, and then we can select the according while we want to edit, make any changes from there. So that's an overview of the fundamentals of the fillet tool. Now let's move on to the chamfer tool. So I don't have a shortcut assigned to this one. Again, we can do so by 3 dots and then add a keyboard shortcut. I can just leave that as selecting under modification. So I'll click on chamfer. And then just like the fillet tool, we need to define either an edge, a face, or a feature. Now to demonstrate this, I use this edge here again. And we can use the arrow to add in our chamfer like so, or use the parameter boxes. So in this case, I'm going to go, let's go for 2 mil. So we have a 2 mil chamfer there, and this type of chamfer is an equal distance. So that's 45 by 45. We look at that from the right view, we can see that's 2 mil in from the horizontal and 2 mil in on the vertical. And hence this is a 45-degree angle, or as Fusion calls it, an equal distance chamfer. I'll give another example there, use the same edge, but in this case, I'm going to use 2 distance chamfer. So if I zoom in a bit, we'll see we have 2 arrows. So number 1 determines the length in the horizontal, and number 2 determines the length in the vertical. So we no longer have that equal chamfer or that angle of 45 degrees, and instead we're only defining 2 lengths, horizontal and vertical. And again, we can input these parameters there. Just go for 2 1/8. So okay, look at that from the front view. And there we see we've got a much sharper angle there. So 2 mil in from the horizontal and 8 mil up from the vertical. Another type of chamfer we can add is the distance and angle chamfer. I'll hit plus and I'm going to select this same edge here. And here you see we have an arrow. So we're defining a distance here, in this case on the horizontal. And then we've got a wheel defining the angle of that chamfer. So again, we can modify these manually, or we can input parameters here in the boxes. So let's go for 4 mil in the horizontal and an angle. Let's go for 60 degrees. So okay, look at that from the front view. There we have our 4 mil and our 60-degree angle, which will then determine the length on the vertical. Let's go back to the type of chamfer being equal distance, and I'll just use this to demonstrate on joining edges, as we can see here. So if we select this edge, we then see we have this arrow. So if we draw that arrow out, we're going to see we're adding in our chamfer. So I'm just going to leave it as that, press OK. And again, just like the fillet tool, we're adding material there and forming, well, in this case, not so much of a smooth transition between this face and this one. As with the fillet tool, we are forming a transition of such, in this case, 45 degree to 45 degree. Okay, so that is an overview of the fillet and chamfer tool. I hope that all makes sense. Any questions, please let me know. Aside from that, I will see you in the next lecture.